Johnson,
Here.
please rise and pledge allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public input? Okay. Consent agenda. If there are not any changes or additions to the consent agenda, do I have a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept.
Second?
I actually would like, I'd like to consider item F for new business, just for a brief discussion, if we could.
Which,
That would be setting the garage sale fee. Can we move that to new business, or do you want to discuss it now? Usually consent agendas.
we can,
Mhm.
shall we move
Yep,
to,
I'm in and
move
out.
into new business?
We'll move it to new business if that's
If
okay.
that's fair,
Sure.
yeah. So I would approve, or moving that to.
Make a
I'll
motion.
modify your motion to approve moving item F to new business.
Vote for moving it?
You want to have Scott second it?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Vote to move, item F to new business and approve the consent agenda with that provision. Vote, would you?
I'm sorry.
We're going to vote on moving item F from the consent agenda to new business and approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Correct. We have a motion, I think Scott's seconding, so if you want to take a roll call or you want to.
Yeah, we're gonna vote for
Yep.
yea or nay. Jeff?
So, yep, Jeff already motioned and Scott seconded.
Right, so then
Oh,
we
so now
go,
he's
You're
asking.
requesting my vote? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I approve.
Scott,
Yes.
Maskey,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
do I have a motion to open the public hearing for the budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 26?
I'll make a motion to open up the public hearing on the budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year number 20 fiscal year 26 budget at 6:34.
Second.
Vote. Maskey,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Scott, how are you?
Yes.
Light, Johnson,
Yes.
Okay, so the office did not receive any outside input for the public hearing, which is for budget amendment number 2, which would be for library line item. And as previously shared, the library had $13,174.66 remaining from the transferred funds at the end of FY '25. Because those were unspent funds, they were inadvertently not put into the line item for the FY '26. So I would like to add that amount back to the library's line item budget.
Any comments?
So the amount for the amendment then, I went ahead and did 14,000, just to round up.
I don't have anything. I'll motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Ladies first.
I'll second.
Vote. Kendall,
Yes.
Vasky,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
staff reports. Does the building inspector wish to make any verbal comment?
No, just what's on the report, and there's a lot of activity. Church, some fourplexes, there's some stuff coming down the pipe, I think, for the cities.
Would the city engineer like to make any verbal updates?
Maybe I need to add some report. Answer any questions if there are any.
In the absence of old business, we will move to new business. A motion to consider resolution to 2026-10 to approve second budget amendment for fiscal year fiscal year 26.
I'll motion to approve resolution 2026-210 to approve the second budget amendment for FY 26. I'll second.
Vote. Bendel,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Paskey,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
We have a motion to discuss the security cameras at the municipal wells lift station. And consider resolution 2026-208 prioritizing purchase and installations of security cameras at designated water system facilities.
I'll motion for discussion on security cameras.
I'll second.
Bendel,
Yes.
Paskey,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Okay, so we have resolution 2026-2008. We did secure a quote from Hawkeye Communications, which is the vendor that we currently use for city cameras. I did have him put together the quotes such as that we could phase this type of project if we would like. I believe it was Councilmember Bendel had inquired about if there was prioritization, then we could still prioritize doing some of the project yet here in fiscal year 26. I did have a discussion also with Public Works Superintendent, and he just wanted to share why his prioritization would be to prioritize well number 3, the booster station, the North Water Tower, and well 2. Number one, even though the actual equipment was stolen from a lift station, which is like the sewage part, the real threat obviously would be to the drinking water. If someone were to get in and do something to contaminate the water. And then also the vandalism, unauthorized people coming on location. We do have our new water storage tank over here coming up, and that could be a target for vandalism and such, which is why we had proposed that we would put a fence around it. So that's kind of why the prioritization was the way that it is here listed. And it was still within budget for fiscal year 26 to do that.
What particular grouping was the amount coming out of for keeping within budget?
So it will come out of police public safety, which is where some of our current cameras do come out of public safety. I feel that's appropriate because it is for security reasons that we prioritize that, and because we have already had theft at a lift station that cost the city over $8,000 because actually, I think it was $6,000 because our deductible was $5,000, so we did not turn it into insurance. So we would be taking it out of public safety.
What percentage of our public safety budget has been expended so far this year?
One moment. I do have that, hold on. So as of March 9th, prior to the meeting, the police total expended year to date is $51,040, and our current budgeted is $148,822.
So we're really safe.
Yes.
Twenty 26 would be 2, correct? Well 3 and well 2.
Yes. Well 3, booster station, north water tower, and well number 2, yes. Yep. So that we could do yet this year, which does help split up the cost of a project like this. We could prioritize more than that if the council would decide to do so. And I could always bring another resolution to the table in April that could be yet this fiscal year.
With the quotes, good for, did they give me any, I can't remember. if it was like 30 days
Usually,
or something.
yeah, I think the quote expires March 22nd, but we do have a relationship and we are a current vendor with them, so I'm sure they would extend it if I reached out to them. I would have to ask that, yes. Make myself a note, actually.
And I guess, I don't know that I've ever seen the footage from these cameras, but in the nighttime, how good is like if there was the night, how good is it? So like that, just for example, that lift station, if there was a camera there, how clear of an image would it be of a suspect?
I believe they're pretty clear, and I can only go based on what we currently have, so the library, the city hall, we do have this lit up. I don't know if you've been on it recently, but I've been on it. And you can, I mean, especially since usually, if there isn't a light in one of these locations, we would definitely put one there, obviously, because if it's well lit, then it obviously works better for the cameras. But, I mean, they're really good. I think they swivel, do you know, Ryan, Probably not, but I think they swivel like,
They're PTZ.
yes. It's
So-
like a 3-head multi-sensor, so it almost goes into like a full 180 or more. I
Probably
think-
270 degrees, if that's like a 3-head camera. I know because I installed this.
Okay, yes,
These
very
are
good.
5 megapixels.
So if you have questions specifically about the cameras, please ask Councilmember Johnson, because
Are they
I
Axis?
do not. Okay, what?
Axis cameras? AXIS?
Uh,
I know I'm asking you a lot of
is it
questions.
Axis or Avis?
There you Oh,
Have great
It's
video.
Alta Video, yeah.
oh,
And that is also
Oh, that's
nice too, because they are, we have mobile devices, so these are the same cameras that the library got outside and inside also, so that you can get on in real time. You can put in dates and go back. We have had to use it. We've had an incident at the park that we had to look up. Unfortunately, with the theft at, the lift station, we did not have cameras, and the cameras that ClickStop had were not working. So, and they're really easy to use in a situation like this. We would then get, right now, we do not have the public works employees do not necessarily have access to the cameras because they don't really need it. I mean, I suppose we do have one for fire over here we could give it, but we would also, it's very easy to train. So we would be able to give access to the public works employees, so they would be able to see that.
okay.
So is this gonna, so we're gonna have to get another quote, you know, for internet access or some type of router out there?
So I believe those are in the quote because he did make contact with USA Communication when he did the quote. So for some of these areas, there is fiber, but we would just need to turn it on. And for the others, I believe that he was in direct communication with USA Communications.
Well, it just says at the bottom pricing assumes
Yeah.
that there will be active
Yeah,
internet connection for cameras.
Because I'm assuming, because Trent can monitor these stations real time. So,
yes.
So they should have some internet based.
Okay, there.
Yeah, so right now, yes, because like in some of them, we have computers in there that they do water reports, things like that, which is what Randy's talking about. So the Wi-Fi, I think, is there. We just have to
Connect.
hook it up, connect it, yeah.
They're
Including
probably,
out there, there's computers out there.
I'm assuming we have.
When you say out here at,
the tank.
Tank.
there will be in the pump station, yes.
Okay.
And then, yes, whatever's not there, that's what we would be installing.
So any distance that far, it's fiber, and then they can do a media converter from fiber to Cat6.
Okay.
So there'd be no signal degradation or anything like that. I know, I'm nerding out from.
You are a little bit,
Yeah.
that's good, that's good.
And I do know, like, if we ever have questions and we don't think the quality, like some of these cameras, I know we can up our megapixels,
Mm.
and we can, and if we go with like a FLIR for, where it's got the infrared, so you don't necessarily
You
need
need lights.
lights. So that's adjustments that we can look forward to later on.
I'm inclined, based on where we are sitting in the budget, to see if we can extend the quote, this quote, like the number 2 priority as well, and try to do that in fiscal year 26.
Are you recommending adding option number 2 to this vote?
No,
Or
since we
bring it
already
in
have-
next month?
Yeah, so
Okay,
since we already have this resolution, I'm making a motion to approve this resolution and bring forward priority number 2 next month.
I'll second that.
any other discussion? Okay, put the motion to purchase and Authorize the purchase and installation of security cameras under resolution 2026-208. Vasky,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Bendel,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
so approved. Open discussion on the vacating Southeast Washington Avenue.
Motion to discuss. Motion to discuss vacating Southeast Washington Avenue.
I'll second that.
That was late.
Oh, did we vote before to discuss?
We're voting to discuss vacating Southeast Washington Avenue.
Okay, and then were you going to call a vote or just a motion?
For vacating.
Mhm. I wasn't sure because when we did the camera one on 2, there was a motion and
We
a
did a
second, and then
motion
we
and we
voted to
voted.
have the discussion.
And then we voted to approve the purchase and
Yes,
installation under the resolution.
okay, so we're not calling a vote for the discussion.
The
I
discussion.
thought that's what we did before.
I think that was all in there. All in the same.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you just didn't get there yet.
Okay, got it.
So now we moved on to Washington. And you're up if you have the information to,
Okay, so I printed an updated, map, and I put this on your desk, because I think the one that I previously shared. So in this picture, what I want to demonstrate is that this, alley that's right below where the vacate is, this was going all the way through the alley. So I had Ryan get on the beacon to cut this portion off because we are not vacating any part of this alley here, only this portion up here, which is between the 2 properties at Southeast Washington Avenue. So I know that kind of sounds
So only
confusing.
what's in green.
Only what's in green, but what I previously shared with you, the picture actually went into the alley a little further than it should have. So just so we're clear, so we all know, this is a discussion area right here. So we did not, first of all, I guess I want to start by saying, we did not have a very clear process with City of Urbana and what this looks like for vacating an alley or a right-of-way. So I did reach out to the city of Center Point and some other surrounding, and so what I shared with you was kind of a draft, and it was the draft of a combination of what was used in the previous city for what this process should look like. Because it was actually pretty in-depth, because as you know, I included in the packet, the Planning Zoning Commission met and had to have a discussion, and then they had to submit a report for their recommendation for the council. Then we had to contact the 2 property owners that the right-of-way impacts, which would have been John Jacobson, who is making the request, and then Kelly Randall, who is the abutting property owner. We then also received utilities release form. So the first I had was Trent Kramer look at the city with the city engineer and the city engineer's feedback. Then we did contact USA Communications to be clear that there was no utilities there and had them sign off, and then Alliant Energy as well. So there is no utilities, and that is not maintained by the city. Therefore, John Jacobson is making the request for vacating the right-of-way. So the other piece that the council needs to discuss this evening would be what we put in here for how we would come up with the valuation or the fair market value for the piece of property that is highlighted in green, which is approximately 0.15 acre. And this process, and hopefully the mayor can help me with this as I discuss it, but if you get into the beacon, the appropriate way to calculate a fair market value would be the surrounding homes in value of approximately 72,500 with the surrounding area in that location per acre. And the estimated then value for that much of the property would be rounded approximately at $11,000. What is issued below here is a sample, which is what CenterPoint uses, and that would be the minimum acceptable value. So the minimal acceptable value for CenterPoint, which is also similar to other cities, is that they do not go below 35% of that fair market value. So tonight, for discussion purposes, we have the council needs to decide on what that fair market value for this property would be, so that we can let the property owner that's interested in purchasing that know before we set the date for a public hearing, which would follow April 8th, which is on the agenda also. Did I get all of that?
So we use combined home and property value when
No.
determining,
No, just
the land.
Just the land, sorry,
Okay.
yeah, so the land value,
Shall I help you with that?
yes, please.
Okay, I
Wish
talked
you
to-
would have said that like 3 minutes ago before I started reading.
I talked to Larry Anderson of Benton County, and basically going front to back, there's a decreasing value. Like the front part is a real high value, and as you move further back, but since this one is fronting the road and then going back, then it's basically equal to the two properties on either side and the properties across the street, going from a strictly dollar value per acre when you start looking at that. If you go, if you say subdivided back near an alley, then the property value would be a lot lower, because it would be just like the lower 1/3. But since it was coming from the street side, coming back, we could use the values of adjacent properties. So average of Kelly and the Jacobson, and then across the street from them, there was four properties in that area that all face the street, and use that as an average. And then dividing that by the 35% that is used by CenterPoint, comes up with the final minimum bid value. Of course, if you have more than one person interested in it, you could start a bidding war on it, and that's a new one. But the council needs to decide whereabouts in that range they wish to set the value of the property.
Did I read somewhere that there's a storm sewer underneath that, or is that somewhere else?
Somewhere else. So if you look at the map, the storm ran correctly.
That's running down the alley.
Yeah,
The
so
alley.
that's the alley that will not
This way.
vacate, is that
Oh,
correct,
okay.
Shane? Yeah,
That's what they thought, originally, it's coming this way, but it's going this way.
yeah, and
So there's the easement there, there's no easement.
So you're asking us about 35%.
Do you want 35%, or do you want 40%? Basically, the thought is the land belongs to the city, and the transferring it to a landowner improves their lot value. It takes and puts that land on the city tax rolls, but if you, current thought is since it's it has some value, and what value does the city council want to place on it?
Jeff, are you calculating the 4 properties average?
No, it wasn't.
I think the 4 property average, isn't it the 72,500?
That's per acre of the lot under the properties.
Just the two.
Not
The
across.
2 and the 2 across the
there's-
street.
Go across the street
Oh,
also.
across the street.
So basically use 4 properties,
All 4.
the ones facing East Main there.
Who did that calculation?
I did,
You did?
yeah, I used the county's assessed value for those 4 lots.
And somebody checked the math on that, right? Like somebody, I'm not discrediting, but it was peer reviewed, right? We know that's accurate. That's all I'm asking.
I'm pretty sure it did, but now, maybe not.
I just would hate to commit to an amount without having it peer reviewed and double checked, I guess, 'cause
Transparency. I guess my only question is, if that was city property, who was maintaining it beforehand, before this came up? Was the city maintaining that, or the property owners?
The property owners, well, prior, if you look at here, you can see that there was a shed on it. But it was being mowed by the property owners.
So I did do the math of the 10,875 and then the 35%. So that's 3,806.
I'm
So
talking
the
about the
range
value,
that we have,
talking about the value, the property value.
I did not. I took the word of the mayor and the auditors, or not auditor's office.
Yeah, basically what I did was I looked up the acreage of these 4 lots, took the assessed lot value, which is not necessarily the market value, it's just the assessed lot value. And then added them together and divided to come up with the 72,000 per acre.
Sure. I'm not trying to belittle anybody's math skills. I just always like to make sure that we peer review those before we get to. We could discuss a percentage. I think that's fair. I don't know that we should agree to a number, like a final number, but we could have the number reconfirmed by,
Sure.
for the legal process. But the percentage itself, I don't know why we couldn't. It seems logical, the amount, but before we made a final. We could just tonight agree to a percentage of the final calculated value, you know what I mean? Which I assume it would be this, but I would hate to like.
Okay, so you're saying like if the range for the council is $3,806 to $11,000, the price should be, I believe, somewhere within that range, or maybe I'm not understanding
Basically
what you're
just saying,
saying.
we gotta figure out if we wanna be 35% fair market, 40%, 45.
Yeah,
50.
Gotcha,
Exactly.
gotcha,
So no matter what the price is,
right,
it's coming in at a percent.
gotcha.
Percentage of the final calculated value.
Well, I could show Jennifer what I did, and then she could, pull up Beacon and do the math too.
I don't think we
Yeah,
can.
I guess, my statement, I don't know if they've done this in the past, I guess this would be my first one to go through, I don't know, do we have any records of what we've done in the past, if we have?
The most recent was not, it was,
There's no percentage.
it was, yeah, it was not done this well, so I wouldn't want to go use that as a.
Yeah, I think we did go back and I would not want to use the process because I wasn't sure what the process was that they used. And I feel that if we're going to go through a process like this, we need to standardize it so that, and I understand in the past, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe somebody got it for X amount of price. I understand that, but I believe that as we've done a lot of things, that having a standardized process that's the same for anyone that comes in here is how I believe it should be done. So, after doing the research, I found that this was a more solid process that like Centerpoint was using. I think that, this would be how we would move forward, maybe not go back to see like how it was done, unless a previous council member could do that because there was no process necessarily in writing that I could find.
Well, also the numbers for this one would be different than, let's say you did a turn back on the alley behind it. The land value in the alley itself would be considerably lower than the property facing the street, going through the assessor's office methods. So the math part of that, calculating the value is gonna change depending on where you're picking up, where the property is that you're turning back to or vacating and adding to another lot.
So tonight, we have to decide that percentage, or are we only setting a date for a public hearing?
I believe that we should do the percentage because based on the percentage, that allows the property owner that would like to purchase the right of way. That way, he knows what the value is and what the city is set on that being. Because we don't want to get in a position where we then set the date for a public hearing, we come to the public hearing, and then we have a property owner that says, that's more than what I think I want to pay for it, and now we're at a public hearing with vacating a property that we can't necessarily.
It feels like
vacate.
we should either have a resolution or an ordinance update that should be set, like it shouldn't be negotiable per vacation. Like,
So,
right?
so when we have the public hearing in April, we will then have the set amount. I'll come back with, like, if you guys give the percentage in April for the public hearing,
We'll approve that.
that would be approved after the public hearing. But this way, the property owner knows where that percentage lands and what the price will be, so that we don't have that happen in a public hearing and then that's a surprise to everyone.
I think I'm just a little concerned about how it's stated in our agenda, and I apologize, I didn't catch that we were setting a percentage today. Because it says memo, but it doesn't say that we're taking action on a percentage, or to Jeff's point, updating an ordinance or having a solution tonight. I just struggle a little bit with setting that percentage without there being something on the agenda about us making that action. Am I,
I mean, we could come to a consensus tonight, but I would just, it would
So it's my understanding that you can make a motion for what the percentage would be, so that when we then set the date for the public hearing, then that resolution with that pricing comes exact with the resolution the night of the public hearing.
Yeah, so we just set it up,
I mean, it's feasible that someone could vote, we could vote not, the council could vote not in favor of vacating the alley, even though the price has been set.
Correct.
Right? I just don't, I don't want it to box us into whatever percentage we decide tonight is, you understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to foreshadow anything other than just like whatever percentage we had come to an agreement with. That in and of itself is a single item. And then the public hearing is to vacate the alley, right? That's separate. For discussion to vacate the alley. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but
Well, we're actually looking at two things.
Yes.
Trying to set the valuation minimum bid if we want to vacate. I mean, the city actually has to, want to vacate. And if,
that's what I'm
If they
saying.
decide
If we
to
set a
vacate-
minimum bid tonight, that's saying we want to vacate, is it not?
right, it's, the two things are going together.
Right, which I don't really like that, but.
But I guess that's where my confusion lands, that we wouldn't bring forth a resolution to vacate without having discussed
What
a
percentage?
price of what that percentage would be, because between tonight in making that decision and before a public hearing, we would want to notify the property owner that is making the request, because otherwise, I'm not sure that we would go through with the public hearing if we have set the range in a position. Because right now, we can't go anywhere with the property owner if the council doesn't have a fair market value. And we also don't want to go into a public hearing without already knowing the value for the property owner, because we wouldn't go through a public hearing to vacate and then not have someone that's purchasing it.
And I'm in a total agreement with where you're going here. I'm just struggling with the fact that we're almost asking to do two separate things, right? Like, we're trying to make a policy about what our policy going forward is going to be when we vacate these things. And we're trying to do it in alignment with this one situation where it feels to me like tonight what we should have done. And again, I apologize for not catching this, but I almost think we should have had a resolution to set that percentage for what we're going to do now and there forward, and then come back and set the public hearing for this one situation to be able to give that and then discuss the vacation.
No, I don't know if I'm understanding you completely, but you're not really setting a policy. Let's say you set it at 35% for this particular vacation.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that's the standard going forward. I mean, I know that'll be looked at in the next vacation and the one after that, but the next vacation may be more valuable land and maybe, could be used for a city park or something. And so maybe
So
that would be
you're
a
saying
higher percent. You're gonna look at previous cases, but I don't think you're setting for every vacation, it's gonna be 35%.
Right, sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, makes perfect sense, thank you.
And I'm not saying you should set it 35%.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to say is each case is gonna be separate. You are gonna look at previous cases to say, well, what do we do on this one?
Mhm.
But then you also have to consider, are you comparing apples to apples?
That makes sense, thank you.
Yeah, you're looking at an alley versus a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, or what is on the other side of that? Is it
Yeah,
more city property that would be more valuable to the city
Yeah.
if we had
yeah,
it?
it's two joint properties, it's not like the city can really do anything with the alley, there's not much property. But yeah, if the city owns a lot next to it, then yeah, the city could extend it and make it a lot bigger.
I don't know, I still struggle with that because it's an extremely subjective, every time it would be very subjective. Your land value dictates that, like what you recoup based on the percentage you see fit, right? So the land value in that part of town equals this, or whatever it is, 11,000. But if it's next to a park, I don't know, I can see your argument, but I see the other way too. It's like you're establishing the land value based on what the professionals have set it out, and then you recoup whatever amount we see fit, as far as if you wanted to sell it, but.
But the land value in this particular instance, with just this particular right of way, and this is the only one that we are discussing, and it's not becoming a policy for anything, the land value of this particular right of way isn't going to change between tonight and April 8th. So we're solely, I mean, I guess I don't know, I'm missing something, like, we're only setting the value of this particular one tonight, which is the only one that's being requested. So if we're saying that that value is 11,000, the minimum 35% is at 3806. For this particular right of way, we should be somewhere within this range so that we can do that before April 8th. So whatever that percentage would be, all of that can be refigured for this particular resolution that would accompany the public hearing on April 8th. So I must be like, missing something, like I'm just missing something. I apologize for that.
I think the issue is, and there's not really an issue, the question is, we've established, I mean, everything's been requested, we've already done all of the work, we've established what the land value is, and the minimum is 35%. You're asking the council, or the council's being asked to say, is that what you want to charge? And yes or no, and if not, what do you want to charge? For us to make a decision on what we would, I haven't heard anybody pitch anything other than the proposed 35%. And I haven't heard an argument why it should be more or less. No one said. So all I'm saying is if we make a decision on that percentage tonight, it should be based with objective. So you can't just say 35 sounds great for this one, and then next week we get another request and we're like, 65 sounds pretty good.
I see where
You know what I mean? Like we should have some level of basis for what we're deciding, not just pulling a number out of thin air
Well,
and approving it. So
technically, you know, if you, the 35% came from an adjacent city.
exactly. So
And so that's where the 35 comes from.
And I see where you're going, because you're basically saying, if we do this, you're kind of establishing.
you're setting a precedent. You're setting a precedent. So
And the next person's gonna help, well,
You want to charge 35%.
what?
But I think that's where all of this comes into.
And
This particular property, the city does not maintain it, the city does not have utilities there. So the value of this property, the only piece that does add value to the property is the conversation I believe the mayor had with Benton County, and that this particular right of way abuts or is right off the street, which adds value to that. But however, if somebody 3 weeks from now wants to vacate an alley that is in a different space, that I think goes back to what Shane was saying, and that you can use precedents, however, each one becomes its own incident because it all goes through planning and zoning with that recommendation. But, you know, this particular one doesn't have a property, you know, with the park right next to it. So I believe that in the conversation that we are having, if I look at it as a range, if I'm looking at this 3,800 on this side and 11,000 here, through the conversation, which is not my decision to make, based on the conversation that the mayor has said, based on the conversation that the city engineer has said, my little radar would be closer to the 3,800 more than the 11,000 in this particular incidents, because it doesn't hold necessarily the value to the city that maybe one on Wood Street right next to a vacant lot may hold a little more value to it. And again, I apologize. I tried to get this out well in advance, and it's a very new process for me too, because I haven't done it. But I also wanted to be fair to the property owner who has been patient with the city to try and like put something in place in motion to get this rolling.
And that is why I kind of asked the question about who's been maintaining it. Because then we kind of have to kind of figure if they've spent time managing the property, keeping it mowed, not overgrowth. It's kind of a fickle spot. I see where you're going with it, and I see what you're trying to get to, Jeff. Because if we set a certain percentage is,
If you're setting it as 35% is the minimum, let's just say that's the lowest we're gonna go. It's not saying that we have
For
to
this
sell,
particular
yeah,
property.
but it's still
Yes.
not saying that we have to sell it at 35%. It's just that would give the person, hey, it's 35% the cheapest I'm gonna, then I can make an offer on it.
I think
They just can't go below that 35%.
Correct.
I think to add to Jennifer's point, the way I look at it is, what is the value to the city? Is it a buildable lot? If it was just to stay by itself, if the city was to vacate it itself and keep the property and then sell it for building or something like that, then maybe you're looking closer to the 100%. Because if you could turn around and sell it for a lot to a developer, build a home, buy it, build a home, and they may be willing to spend, that $11,000. But if it's a narrow strip that's, to Councilmember Johnson's point, that the adjacent property owners are already maintaining, there's not a lot of additional value for the city, then maybe it's closer to that 35%. Or if it's adjacent to a property the city already has, like a vacated lot that the city has acquired, then maybe it's got more value. That's where I would kind of start your basis on it. So if you're looking at just an alley, that's really the only value is being added to the property adjacent to it. And then the value for the city is added back in the tax roll. So, it doesn't say, okay, let's do it at 35, but, in this situation, maybe you are looking closer to the lower end versus the higher end.
because then that's the other, we can look at the tax threshold, where the city will be recouping some of the taxes.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to anything, opposed to this process. We have a draft policy that we're about to set a benchmark in that draft policy. It would have been, ideally, we would have adopted a policy or,
We're just not even a reference to policy.
yeah, right. So it's just a little, in my mind backwards. So I understand the point of what we're trying to accomplish to make it, work for everyone, or not work, but allow people enough information to make an informed decision, so, or prospective buyers, so. So that draft came from Centerpoint, or was it?
Yes.
That was there.
The main part of it came from Centerpoint, and then the rest of it is things that I've added in just based on the conversations that I've had with the city engineer, contacting the utilities, things like that, that I felt that we needed to add in a little bit. But yes, this would be a draft that really started from Centerpoint.
I think in this situation, I'm fine going with the more than 35%, but I think we need to obviously have some discussion about that policy in a separate meeting.
Well, because we don't have one yet.
But we referenced it in the memo to us.
So I feel that we have two things that we could do. If you are not comfortable with the draft, which to me, the draft provided more in a short amount of time than what the city was making previous decisions on when they vacated alleys and right-of-ways in the past. So if you would like, we would maybe bring forth the draft policy at the next meeting, which then would delay the next items in the process if the council feels more comfortable with having an official policy before making a decision.
Well, I know I'm one that has had maybe a little bit more of an issue with this, but I just got done saying that I'm fine moving forward with the 35%. I think that's more than reasonably and fair, but we really, up until the memo, didn't have any discussion about this. I would have liked in the future to have the meeting and have these discussions so that we're not delaying it or put into this type of situation where we're put on the spot. And I know that you gave it to us in advance, but there's going to be times where we're not all up to date, and that's why we have these meetings. So that's where I was coming from.
No, I totally agree, because this process came forward and I had absolutely no idea really where to start. So, I mean, I'm fine with that too. If we can take a look at bringing the policy forward, or if,
Yeah, I think, I'd like, before we do any more of these, to have a policy, and I don't think it needs to be locked in at a 35. I think to Shane's point, we can put something in there about, it flexes. It's just, this situation, I think it was tough because it was mentioned, this draft policy. I don't know what that is, and I don't know where it came from. And I still have a ton of time to prep for that. I know you gave it to us in advance, but I have not had a chance to look at it, so.
Yeah. no, I'm fine with it. I don't,
And I agree, we could put like something in there that there's a threshold for property percentage. So we're not finite to a certain number.
So are we sticking with the 35? And we don't have a resolution, so this is just a motion to have a 35% on this situation?
In this one situation.
If the council would like to make a motion to use 35% of the assessed lot value of the surrounding properties.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to use the 35% of the average of the 4 assessed land value properties surrounding the area for this situation.
I second.
Vansky, Huber. Have a vote, Vansky,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Bendel,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, 35%. Then we, do I have a motion to set a date for the public hearing?
I will make a motion to set the public hearing for April.
Is it in the resolution?
It says March, that's why I'm struggling.
Oh, it says
April 8th.
April.
Okay. April 8th, 6:30 PM.
So it just says set date at the March 11th.
Gotcha.
For April.
Got it.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Vote for setting the hearing for April 8th for the vacation of the right-of-way on East Washington. Maskey,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Johnson,